Okay, so today we are going to start with a series on changing the hard drive in NAS 4, which as you can see is right down there. Now the way that this is set up, for those of you who are just tuning in, that NAS bases itself around an HP dc7600 SFF, so it has one hard drive slot, and therefore, it is booting and storing on the same drive. So, when I change the drive in the machine, I'm also going to have to reinstall the operating system. So I have decided that now is as good a time as any to make the jump to Open Media Vault from NAS for free. Or, I'm sorry, they call it Sigma NAS now. I'm probably going to use both in this video. Now, because there are a lot of steps in doing this, I'm going to make this a 3-part video with a twist. This part of the video is going to be about the hardware installation as well as the Debian Linux install, or would be. More on that in just a second. Second part will be about the Open Media Vault install, and the third part will be an Open Media Vault configuration. Now, why am I saying would be? Well, I've already shot this video. I used this camcorder to do it. I'm not sure what happened, if my tape is bad, or if the camcorder just was having a bad day, or if the camcorder no longer works, but the video footage is completely unusable. And unfortunately, this is one of those one-time things, so I can't go back and redo all of this. Well, I could, but it wouldn't be very genuine now, would it? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just give a basic talk through of what I did, and then we will jump over to a virtual machine where I'm going to install Debian Linux and give you something of an idea as to what I did and how I did it. Okay, so in the machine I actually installed a 500 gigabyte Western Digital black drive. The drive itself came to me from a scrap pile and had on it written that it was a slow drive. I can't find anything wrong with it. So I don't know what the deal was. There were no bad sectors or anything. So I decided to put that in here. And the way that I've got it set up is I've got obviously the swap partition, I've the 2 gigabyte swap partition, a 20 gigabyte boot partition, and the rest of the drive is used for storage. The other thing I'm going to say before I move on with the Debian simulation is, hardware-wise, other than the fact that it's a dc7600 SFF and it's got that 500 gigabyte hard drive in it, it's got a CD-ROM drive, Pentium 4 3 GHz CPU, and I believe 4 gigabytes of DDR2 memory. And it came to me like that too. They were going to throw this thing away with 4 gigs of RAM in it. I kid you not. Couldn't believe that. Alright, so at this point, we're going to move on with our little simulation. Okay, so we are now getting ready for the second part of this video where I install Debian Linux in a virtual machine, just as a little bit of a simulation to show you what I've been doing. Alright, so we're not going to choose the graphical install, we're going to choose the regular install. And I think what I'm doing right now is I'm actually making sure that this is recording. I'm voice tracking this after the fact. There we go, push enter. So now we're going to start the installer. It's taking a while to start. Unfortunately, the quality is the best. This is a straight video capture off of VirtualBox, because I found that my video capture program was not doing a very good job of actually doing a capture. So we're going to set this up properly, so I've chosen Canada here, choose American English for the key map. Now it's going to detect hardware to find CD-ROMs, load a bunch of stuff, load it slower than it did on the physical computer for some reason. Oh well, such is the way that things go. I'm kind of hammering the computer a little bit hard, doing conversions and watching a live broadcast, so it shouldn't come as much of a surprise that it's going fairly slow. think I was going to mention something else and I don't remember what it actually was, so it probably wasn't important. I've configured the virtual machine exactly, well, at least as exactly as I can get it to the physical computer. 4 gigs of RAM, 500 gig disk image. It's now going to try and get an IP address. The CPU and the network and all that mess is not going to be exactly the same, but that's alright. So I'm going to put in a host name. I'm just going to put in simulation, nothing really fancy. This doesn't really matter. I'll just put in a junk password. Put in simulator as the user. Give it a junk password. Select Eastern for the time zone. Now we're going to set up the partitions. Now here's where things differ from a regular installation. Normally what I do is I just use the guided setup, but because I'm not installing to the whole disk, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to choose the manual setup. It's accidentally tabbed. So we're going to create a new empty partition. We're going to go in here, we'll create a new partition, make it 20 gigabytes in size. Primary. Mount at /. Probably doesn't matter, but I'll set the bootable flag. Then we'll make another. This will be a 2 gigabyte partition for the swap space. We'll put it at the end of the drive. So we'll set that up as swap area. Obviously it's not bootable. Then the rest of this is going to be used as primary partition again, and I'm gonna set a mount point. When you go later on, you're going to have to remove this mount point because otherwise it will screw around with Open Media Vault during startup. So we'll just set it for now. That way it actually works correctly. We'll write those changes to the disk. It'll make these do these formats, and then it will install. Okay, here comes the next part. So we will use a network mirror. We're just going to choose all the defaults. That's all we need. And now we'll download all of that. And take forever. So now it's upgrading software. That's pretty much all it's doing, taking forever. Now it's asking us to participate in a package statistics survey. I'm going to say no because I don't believe in any of that stuff. And now what it should do is ask us what we want installed. So we're not going to just accept the default options because we do not need a graphical user interface, so we'll take that away. Of course, we'll take away XFace because we don't need that either. And I'm also going to take away the print server because I don't need a print server on this thing. So the standard system utilities can stay, however. Now we'll begin the long and arduous process of installing all that mess. And now for the setup finalization. Eventually. Still has to do quite a bit. Actually, it's got to install the bootloader first, doesn't it? Yeah, we got to get the bootloader installed. So that's the next process. Which will come up eventually. Not fast. Almost makes you wonder what it's doing behind the scenes. Yes, bootloader installation is next. So I'll install all that mess. And then it should prompt me. I'll look for other stuff on the drive, and then it'll prompt me where I would like to install it. Install the master boot record? Yes. I always love how it goes to enter device manually when there's really only one device there. Obviously I'll want to install it to SDA, so we'll select that one. I don't know why it doesn't default to that. Seems kind of strange to me. So it'll continue, it'll update, and then it'll finish, and then we will go to the last step of setup, finishing the installation. So far, everything has gone very well, which means I've obviously overlooked something. Installation is complete. Go ahead and push continue. Well, enter. Eventually. Probably looking at something else. It'll do some more finalization stuff. It'll unmount, and then it will reboot. As such, we'll get our bootloader. Strange enough, it's using a beta bootloader, but that's fine. Then it will load, and then we'll get some boot messages. There's a whole bunch of stuff in the background. And then it'll start. And that is pretty much it for this part of the video. Thank you for watching. Please do make sure to check out part 2.
where I install Open Media Vault and go over some things about it. And until then, this is CP666 signing off. And I will see you next time. I'm trying to shut the machine down, which for some reason doesn't work. So then I just ACPI shut it down, whatever. Basically, effectively push the power button.